Might as well get going, Andrew.
Yep. Alrighty. Cool. Well, welcome to the Adelaide Microsoft IT Pro Community User Group. Welcome you back to the office again. This is the first one for the year. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Sin Kuala, etc. I am by myself today. So I'm Andrew Young. You can met me before. Usually I'm joined with Brett Moffat and Matt Klein as we host this user group for you. Does work? All right. Still have to do a welcome to country acknowledgement. So we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're meeting on today, and all the the Kaurna people and any other governing bodies of the Aboriginal community from SA and from other parts of Australia. So thank them. Cool. Well, this is normally where I'd have Brett and Matt say hi and all that. So they're not here, so I'm just going to pretend I have something to talk about. So a lot of stuff has happened in the last couple of months. We had our last user group in October, so we're probably behind the ball a little bit. So that's about 4 months, really. So we'll start off with what's old. So to bring it up, we've got a bunch of products that are coming, well, out of extended support. So this is stuff that's usually past the 10-year, well, getting up to the 10-year mark. So things like Windows 8 in red, you should probably move away from that, start using Windows 10, 11. Same thing with the Office 2013 suite. And for anyone still using SharePoint Server 2013, start looking to the cloud. So SharePoint Online, Microsoft 365, etc. And there's a few other products also coming to end of support later in the year as well. So particularly Server 2012, start moving your infrastructure off of that if you haven't already yet. Slap some hands if you're still running that in production. I believe there's a few extended support update for SQL Server 08 as well. So start looking to move away from that. Things coming out of mainstream support, so about that 5-year mark. So Dynamics, Visual Studio, and Office 2019. So start looking to move that away from that as well. And things that are retiring, a couple of other products, so Visio services and SharePoint. The Microsoft Store for Business and Education, that's going to be the kicker, that one. So people who are deploying apps with Intune and Good Policy, they're leveraging the Microsoft Store, then there is a bit of a disruption there. So there are new app fronts for that, and otherwise you just have to use a bit of PowerShell to get around what's currently happening, but we'll probably get a session on that later on. There's a bunch of endpoint managing people in the community, so I'm sure one of them can talk about that. Kaizala is an interesting one, because I think that was acquired as like a resource messaging platform. I guess Teams is better. But yeah, mainly the stuff in red to really be aware of, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more coming up over the next few months. They'll start creeping up in those dates. So what's new? Everybody's talking about it now. If you haven't heard, OpenAI and Microsoft partnered up, and they're starting to use a whole lot of their fancy AI tools. So one of the first ones that are in the year is the ChatGPT service. So built on the GPT 3.5 model. It's essentially a generative AI. So it will have a learning model. So the data is up to about 2021. So you can ask it a bunch of stuff, and it's going to do its best to give you an answer. Bearing in mind that anything post 2021 it won't necessarily know about. It will guess at best, and it also won't deal with any live data. So if you asked it, who's the fairest of them all, it's going to go, I don't have access to live data, so I can't answer that question for you. But if just go like what I just did earlier today is, what is ChatGPT? It'll give you an answer that's pretty, pretty standard what it will tell you. And in the bottom left, it'll tell you what version. So I think they're doing monthly updates. There is a ChatGPT Plus subscription. I believe they start cutting you off, or they limit the amount of calls you give it. So another way for them to make more revenue. Aside from that, yes, the rest of the OpenAI stuff and GPT, there's APIs being opened up, so you can integrate this with Power Platform, your Azure resources and services like that. So it's starting to ramp up really quickly. So this, on top of the DALL-E 2, the imaging AI, which we'll probably see a lot more of when the Microsoft Designer app comes out. So you can then give it essentially just language, natural language in text form, and it'll do its best to give you an image with, that's about as accurate as it can be to give you what you want to visualize. Same thing with the ChatGPT. On top of that, they're adding that GPT feature into Bing.com, so Microsoft's search engine. It now gets the same kind of treatment, so you can ask it questions. It'll still give you your regular search results in a web browser, but then it'll do that little interactive talking on the side. So if you were to ask it, I need to throw a party for 6 people, what would you suggest? It'll give you a bunch of images, some links, but then on the right it'll say, here's my suggestions, and it'll list it out for you, give you links and all that and steps. So that's pretty cool. I think there is still a waiting list for that, or if you signed up for it currently with your personal Microsoft account, you can have a play with that. It is coming out in your start menu on Windows 11. I've heard some whispers about that. So if you are on Windows 11 and you've got the latest update, you might see that creep up in your start menu as well. And it's probably too small for you, but I'll send these out afterwards. Just a brief timeline of Microsoft's breakthroughs with AI. So the last, what is that, 6 to 7 years, they've done a lot, particularly from natural learning, using Azure for AI services, and now GitHub getting Copilot as well. So not only does it check your code, it teaches you how to code at the same time. And then yes, the DALL-E 2 imaging and the ChatGPT. Okay, as I mentioned, the AI features of Bing are coming to the taskbar in Windows 11. The phone links that are your phone app, I believe, in Windows, it now supports iOS, but it's in preview. So previously it was just Android devices. But what I've seen is you can start sort of doing iMessage on your Windows device. So stay tuned for that. The Quick Assist app, so remote support, so you can have your home scenario, you can call up your relative and say, I need assistance, and you can just give them a support code. The app now, so it looks a bit more polished. Continual improvements, I guess. Screen recording with the snipping tool. Might try and show you that. So now, not only do we get a new-looking snipping tool, you can switch between taking an image and recording your screen. So as you toggle, you've got the usual shortcut, Windows Shift-S to take a screenshot or screen snip, or you click on that and you can then go new and pick a certain section of your screen and start recording. And so you can keep working on the rest of your screen real estate, but whatever's in this area you've marked will get recorded. And so just hit stop. There you go. So inception going on there. That's a nice quality of life thing they've added in. So don't necessarily have to go through Microsoft Stream to then go record my screen, which I think that's limited to 15 minutes. I don't know what this might get limited to. It's probably your temp data in your hard drive. So until that runs out, you can probably record as long as that goes for. but I'm sure someone will find out what the max limit on that is. Let's just get rid of that. Welcome change is the Notepad app is getting tabs. So if you work on multiple Notepad text files, they'll now get tabbed across the top. So keep clicking down on taskbar and switching between your notepads. Windows 365, so the streamed desktop experience is generally available again. There is an app for that, so if you head to that website, essentially you can install like your remote desktop app as well. So extra things adding into the store. The Whiteboard app got some new features, so you can now start moving in Microsoft Loop components. We may have covered this in the past, but Loop component is essentially a live workspace that is consistent across maybe Teams, Outlook on the web, now Whiteboard, and yeah, so this is essentially you get the option of doing a list, tasks, like an agenda for a meeting, that kind of thing. But yeah, the fact that you can add it into a whiteboard, so your whiteboard becomes is brought into your collaboration space. So then, whilst you get all the features from the Loop component, you can actually still draw and write stuff on a whiteboard. And then there's a lot more other parts of a whiteboard you can use. On top of that, you get a timer now. So if you are doing like a brainstorming session, or you're doing a breakout room with presentation or something like that, you can say you've got 5 minutes. You guys do what you need to in this whiteboard, and then time's up. You can show what you've got. And the other thing is shareable custom templates. It's like you can only use that on the E3 and E5 SKUs of Microsoft 365. So you can put together a whiteboard with, say, post-it notes, things, tables, essentially a template, and then share it out to internal and external. Attach only internal. I don't know. I'll come back to the external part, but yeah, which would save you some time, and it is a bit better than the default templates because there's only a few of them in there. Microsoft 365 Basic, just to confuse you a little bit more on the licensing side of things. So this is a non-business one, so which is why it's just basic. So essentially the old OneDrive 100 gig premium plan is now becoming M365 Basic. You'll get Outlook mailbox of up to 100 gig as well, perhaps not, but it's kind of a shared storage, I believe. So you can see both your OneDrive usage and your Outlook usage at the same time now. The ad-free part is really nice, considering there was a blip in the personal Outlook a couple of weeks ago. So I believe some of the anti-spam policies went awry, and you would have noticed a bunch more junk and spam mail come through to your Outlook addresses. But yeah, it's essentially the 10-year anniversary since the Office 365 Home Premium plan came out, which that is now known as Microsoft 365 Personal. So more SKUs to get your head around, but I believe it's pretty decent value, particularly if you go with the year plan, and it's better than just going for the OneDrive only plan, because you get their own email address and all that stuff as well. Okay, just going to kill you with all the dot points here. So we saw Teams Premium was coming. It's finally here. It does all of this and then some. So I guess one of the main things is, yes, GPT is also involved in Teams Premium. So intelligent recap, you'll have a meeting like we are now. What it will do is take all the key items and action points from that meeting and give you suggestions afterwards to say, do we follow up on these things? Do you need to schedule a certain meeting? Do you need to do etc.? So it's a bit of a handy minutes taking service with bonuses, I guess. Not only will it do that, it's going to create chapters in the video. So like you would see on YouTube or any other streaming service, if someone's got the ability to say, at this point in time is where we discuss this item. So then you can jump between the points in a certain video. And yeah, it'll give you personalized timeline markers so you can set them yourself as well. Live translation is probably one of the newer additions to it. So there was transcripting. So yes, you can understand English, it'll give us subtitles, but this will actually translate into a language of your choice. I can't tell how many languages you can choose from, but there's at least 10 of the most commonly used languages you'd see on a presentation. Aside from that, meeting templates, branding of meetings, so you can have your company logos, like backdrops while they're in the lobby where you can join the meeting. So it's not just the default Teams purple for everything or a black background if you've actually got, I've joined the right meeting. And together mode scenes as well. So we've seen together mode, which is where everyone is on the same screen on a Teams call once there's more than a certain number of people, and they'll get rearranged into, say, the seating arrangement here, just to help with your the online meeting fatigue. So rather than having people in random squares of different sizes, it's going to give a straight line, or you're in rows. So you can then create your own customized backgrounds for that. More on the branding, so it's watermarking, end-to-end encryption of your Teams meetings, sensitivity labels, so stuff is a bit more secure and compliant. The advanced webinars, so registration, following up on your attendees. You've already got that now, but this has more to it. So yes, on top of the branding and coming back to it with so being able to control when the registrations are open from until, and being able to control what attendees see in the meeting. So there is an RTMP in real-time messaging protocol, so you can choose a high-quality external encoder as your source, so you can start streaming in video or audio from another source into your Teams meeting, but it will be in better quality, and it's being delivered outside of the actual Teams meeting, so it's better latency and performance. Similarly with the enterprise content delivery network from Microsoft, that's more geared towards live events. So when you're doing a 1 to 10, 20,000 people presentation, you'll get seamless and secure presentations for that. Similar to having the Bookings with Me offering through the Bookings app, you can now do virtual appointments. So what they're saying is Azure business to consumer meetings. So similar thing where you've got your calendar on display, people can book a time with you, and then you can lock in a Teams meeting, and you can even start, I believe that's what the Bookings app is for, but you can start having your own business kind of services through that as well. And on top of that, you can see a list of all your schedules and on-demand appointments and custom virtual lobbies for these virtual appointments. So kind of like a good move, but it is behind the premium licensing. So while not everyone needs to have this, you might just have 1 or 2 people hosting these virtual appointments. So you might just need a handful of premium licenses. Everyone else can still benefit from some of the other things that apply to the tenant. So yeah, that's the premium SKU of things. On the standard side of things, so in a Teams meeting, the files or the tabs at the top, they're now supporting anonymous users, so people who haven't been specifically invited, or they've clicked a Teams link and they're in and they can see tabs. So that could be anything from files, quizzes, polls, and things like that. So polls, yes, there are the new polls experience in your meetings. So it will show up when someone in the background has either pre-prepared questions, or during the actual Teams meeting itself, they'll put up a question and a couple of options, and then the attendees can start filling that out. We do get a basic version of virtual appointments, so it's not quite as full on as the one you get in the premium SKU, but you still have some level of a virtual appointment booking. So it's kind of like a persistent meeting room, virtual meeting room for yourself. One I just noticed before, picture-in-picture mode for your iOS devices, iPadOS devices, so you can swap out of your Teams app and start opening up stuff like OneNote, Facebook, etc., while your video is still going from the meeting. One important on this list, better authentication improvements. So Teams admins can then see devices with failed authentication attempts, and there'll be more detailed error messages to support that with. There's support for Android devices in the Teams and Pro Management portal. You can then start Teams chats with distribution groups, mail-enabled security groups, and Microsoft 365 groups. So we're talking group chats, not Teams channels. The scheduled send is getting an upgrade. So rather than what you saw before, if you looked in the Teams chat window, when you type the message in and you right-click on the send button, you get to choose when you send that message. Viva Insights can come in and say, here's a suggested time for you to send this message, because it knows when that person is available. So it will give you send perhaps at this time on this day, because commonly they're going to be around at that time. One that maybe everyone might like or might not like, you'll now be able to do an @everyone in a group chat. So you can mention everyone within that ad hoc group. So this could be between 3 to 100 people. So just like in a Teams channel, if you do it @everyone in a group chat, you're going to get everyone's attention. The Wiki tab from a Microsoft team, that has gone through some good times, bad times. Some people love it, some people hate it. Essentially, it's coming to an end. The migration path will be to get it out of the Wiki tab and into OneNote for that team. Any existing Wiki tabs will still remain, but any that you see in a new team or that you add will only be through OneNote. So the automatic hand unraising. So yes, people can raise their hands during the meeting, but after a while, you don't need your hand up, or if you've spoken already, Teams will know that you've answered or you've had your turn, and it'll unraise your hand. So handy for people addressing questions and there's multiple hands up and you don't know who you've gone through. Last note there for Teams applications. So teachers can invite parents with SMS to communicate. I think that's only a US feature, because we don't get many SMS related features in Australia, not off the bat anyway. So yeah, that's a couple of things coming that are new in Teams in general now. The employee experience platform, so Microsoft Viva, so your good feels and company, I guess, community. The big news, Yammer is engaged. We're no longer going to be seeing Yammer around the place after this year, so they're committing to the full Viva Engage naming. So Yammer communities in your Teams app, that's just going to get rolled into Viva Engage already. But you're going to see more and more branding changeover. Here's someone kind of in the background. I don't know if they want to say anything or not. And part of that, we'll get a new Viva Engage admin center. I don't think I've got an image. No. So it's just going to be the Engage admin center. So I did see on another user group that there is a better timeline. So pretty much by the end of the year, you won't see Yammer in branding or the URLs, and there'll be hard redirects as well to Viva Engage. Starting off the month or last month, so the leadership corner, the Ask Me Anything AMA events and answers in Viva are now available. So whether this is gated behind specific licensing, some of those features may be included in your general E3 or Business Premium. This is more for top-down or lateral kind of communication. So answers in particular, that's
to me?
Yeah, answers in Viva. That's someone talking. Yes, answers in Viva, that will probably leverage the Viva topics feature. So you can create topic pages. So there'll be question and answer pairs generated from that. So when you start posting in Viva Engage, like a question post, more people that answer it, you'll get more content, and then whoever asks the question can mark it as an answer, and then the answers in Viva will then learn from that and present these options to you. So it's kind of like crowdsourcing for information within the business. The GPD involvement, so there was a new seller experience, and Copilot is also existing in this space as well, so in Viva Sales and Dynamics 365. So they actually use sales and customer experience features. So I think I've got a video. I don't know if it will play. Yeah. Guess there's me no sound. There's no sound. Essentially, you'll get an email come in, and it could be a lead, could be an opportunity, and instead of you going in through your CRM or your Dynamics to get your opportunities and your quotes in order, you can just do it all from the context of Outlook. So you see at the top there, there's a little green icon for Viva Sales. So what they'll do in this demo is stop typing and realize, hang on, I can try out this new feature at the top. And when they click it, there'll be a little menu come out from the side, and you'll choose essentially what kind of response you want to make, and then the GPT in the background will then kind of draft an email for you based on the data that's in your CRM. So if you wanted to say, create me a proposal or quote, they'll then do just draft an email for you. So you can then just change a couple of things, and then just click copy the email, and then your job's done for you essentially. So it's kind of really cool. Saves you a lot of time if you don't want to jump through your pricings and all that. And whether you've got existing opportunities to go through, you can just ask it to give me an idea of what I should be trying to quote here. So this is the extended video, so I'll move on from here. There's a Microsoft Viva Partner Technical Bootcamp. So if you're a Microsoft Cloud partner, generally if you're working for a business or you have a business, then you might be a partner, but for general populations, probably won't be able to register for it. You can still try, but essentially it'll just be like foundational training and webinars on just the Viva suite itself, so across the Viva Learning, Viva Topics, Viva Engage, so of course anything that has Viva in it, they'll have training on that. Only caveat, although this one's all right because there is an APAC timeline, so we get this maybe 2 weeks after the fact, but it's at 12:30 p.m. Adelaide time rather than 1:30 a.m. Adelaide time. Okay, big news in Intune, and I've got some really whack animation order there, but so the new Intune suite. So from Ignite last year, when they said they were changing the name back from Microsoft Endpoint Management to Intune, so we have an inkling what they're going to do. So essentially, there's now Intune Plan 1 and Plan 2. Those features up on that dot points there. So they're Plan 2 features, so things that weren't in there already, or they're newer versions of what was already in there. So remote help, endpoint privilege management, advanced endpoint analytics, Microsoft Tunnel for mobile app management, and advanced app management and cloud certificate management. They're all P2 features. So a lot of Intune administrators might rejoice that finally we can control some of this stuff, but then they'll find that I've noticed from a lot of the tech community posts that the pricing is something that's going to really put some people off, because they're thinking, I've already got Microsoft 365 EU5 license. Why do I still need to pay more on top of what's supposed to be the most inclusive license. Let's see what happens from there. But another thing I noticed is you can get individual parts of Plan 2 added on separately from about $3 US per month per license. So obviously it's better value. You get the suite, but it looks for most customers that's still people or businesses that already have a license that includes Intune Plan 1. So they'll probably just look at the P2 add-on for that. So yeah, I did think, well, actually I did see that one of the local MVPs did sign up to come for this. Shahan, if you're on the call or not, I hope that you'll come in future and talk about the Intune suite. But yeah, so we've got plenty of people in the community posting about this, and essentially each part of the P2 will have its own kind of deep dive. So a lot to look forward to. Some of the stuff isn't available yet, so like privilege management is only in preview. That one might be a bit of a game changer because say you've got an application that you have access to, but you want to install something, but you can't because you don't have local admin privileges. When you run that, you can put in your justification, and then an admin can review it afterwards. But the actual privilege part of it is granted to the user once they've justified why they have to install or run the software. So it cuts down on the old the help desk calls. So look forward to that. Microsoft Tunnel is essentially a mini VPN for your mobile devices. So if you're not on a certain network, you aren't allowed to access that data. So Brett was going to talk a whole lot about this, but he's not here, and he's the config manager, guys. So I am interested to see where that's going, how much co-management will still exist in a few years, how much config manager will still exist. And then Malloy is very, very fond of config manager. But yeah, it seems like it's heading this way. But that pricing is going to probably, hopefully it changes. We'll see. We'll hear about that soon, I guess. There's a tech accelerator for this. It's at a nice time of 1:30 a.m. on April the 11th and 12th. And I'll just go through those items there in the Intune suite. Hope for a recording at a much palatable time. In the security space, we've got Microsoft Defender Vulnerability Management. I'm guessing that's what the acronym is going to be. That's generally available now. So that's going to do assessments across your environment for security baselines, hardware and firmware, your certificates, and your browser extensions. So it'll just give you a better way to track and manage or mitigate your vulnerability risks easily. Some more complexity with licensing. So if you've got Microsoft Defender for Endpoint Plan 2, this can be an add-on. If you've got Microsoft Defender for Cloud, it's natively integrated, but you need to have Defender for Server Plan 2 to get the premium capabilities. And at the moment, I think if you've got Defender for Endpoint Plan 2, you can complement it with the standalone version of vulnerability management for free in a trial while it's in public preview. So the cybersecurity creatures in the community will probably get some use out of that. A lot of us are still trying to navigate the naming convention across the entire Defender suite. That's a separate kettle of fish that we don't want to touch. Microsoft Secure. So there is a little security conference coming up on the 28th. Sign up for that one. Yes, and going from the branding of the Defender products, if you wanted to do some learning, there are the Ninja training courses, you can call them. Essentially on the security tech community posts, you can get access to a whole bunch of resources. Some of them will have some small assessments where you can get some unofficial certificates for, so some recognition that you've learned of things. But it's very wide list of things you can learn there. Speaking of the certification, so it's finally the Microsoft 365 certification is turned to have some changes. So we've seen Azure certification just rapidly change every few months because stuff keeps changing at that pace. I would have thought Microsoft 365 has just as many changes at the same kind of pace, but it's taken, I lost count how many years now, but it's a few years since these role-based certificates came out. But yeah, we're going to say goodbye to a few of the older exams and certificate names. So essentially, managing modern desktops is now just going to be endpoint admin. Still no talk of config manager, even though there is. Yeah. But I imagine what the new MD102 should cover a bit of the co-management, obviously Windows, but not only that, it'll be iOS, Android involved as well, Mac OS, I think Linux, and Google Chromebook are new additions. So there may be some expectation to know about how to manage those. The M365 Enterprise Admin Expert is now just going to be known as Admin Expert. So cutting down again 2 exams into the 1 exam, the MS102, Microsoft 365 Administrator. I believe you still need to have a prereq of another associate level certificate to be able to get that one. Another one, that Teams Voice Engineer, so that's going to become a nice wordy looking one, the Collaboration Communication System Engineer Associate. So you've got your MS720 already, and that'll just with the other ones as well. If you've already gotten those certifications, they will automatically change over to the new one, and you can do your renewals and keep it going from once the renewal window passes when the retirement happens. So yeah, with the Teams 721, the old one will go away essentially in June. So you got 6 months to renew it, free, online, in your own time. You have as many attempts as you like in that 6 months, but as soon as you've done it, you've got it. So that's always good. A couple of retirements, so the Teams Application Developer Associate, so the MS600, and the Microsoft 365 Security Admin, the MS500, they're both going away as well. I think it's more applicable for your Microsoft Cloud partners because most of those exams are used as part of your solutions designation, so your KPIs for skilling. So there is a renewal, there is a partner window for that. So even though some of them expire or retire in the next couple of months, they'll have until the end of the year to attempt those exams. So that's fun. And if you were already looking at taking one of those exams, still take it because it's still relevant, and you get the upgrade to the new certificate, or wait and do the new ones. I believe some of these have betas coming up, so if you love to challenge yourself, go in blind. So wait for those to pass the beta period and you'll get your results. Usually there are beta codes, so if you're interested, just keep an eye out. You get some hefty discounted exams for those ones. Some more learning opportunities. So the 30 Days to Learn It Challenge, we call it that. Cloud skills challenges, there's plenty of them, but this one essentially, if you do the learning path in 30 days, you'll get 50% off the exam. A couple of new additions is the Windows Server Hybrid Admin, and that is AZ800 and 801. So Windows Server 2022, Hybrid Server, plenty of Hyper-V, Azure Site Recovery, that kind of thing. And the other one that's new is the Information Protection Admin, so SC400. So that's information protection, governance, compliance, the other side of security. So if you've not really dabbled too much in that, because you would have learned about it in administering M365 in general, there is plenty of crossover across those topics. So if you're interested, there's that one as well. Some other resources is Azure Skills Navigator for network engineers, a whole bunch of links for just network design, network management, troubleshooting within Azure. The relevant exam is AZ700 for Azure networking. There's an inside Azure for IT, so there's fireside chats. So if you want to hear about latest things or whatnot that's coming up for Azure, there'll be a bunch of videos on demand there. I did see a tech community post on finding your fit Microsoft Learn. So plenty of people have different learning styles. So just post this out a good handful of them. So have a look through that and see what kind of strategies or tactics you have in your learning paths. Some Microsoft communities. So there is a M365 and Power Platform community. That's just hosted on GitHub. There's a list of different things you can join there as well across M365 and the Power Platform. So a bit of dev and management there. The Microsoft MVP award program. So it's essentially what Microsoft did, or Microsoft employees and other MVPs will then be able to nominate people out in the wild who are doing things with the tech community, particularly in certain space. So a new award is the Microsoft security category. So you probably would have seen a few of these crop up on your LinkedIn feed as people receive them. But yeah, all the old ones should still be there. So 365 services, Azure, Biz apps and all that. The Lowdown is a weekly podcast hosted by Microsoft. So if you jump on that LinkedIn page, you can then download the calendar reminder, which I've yet to do and I keep forgetting to do it. But it's some good stuff. I've heard some good things. So jump onto that if you want to catch some news from them. Just a couple of user groups that are also in Adelaide. Got the Adelaide Office 365 user group. Check that one on LinkedIn. There's the Adelaide Power BI user group and the M365 adoption user group. So they're also on the Meetup app. Just in that last one, we do have Kirsty McGrath from the 365 adoption user group in town next month. So we'll work something out and we'll probably see her here next month for that one. What's coming? Deprecation of basic auth. I mean, it's already came or come or whatever. Just a reminder, it's probably off by now. And yes, that's probably why your scanned email or your random mail applications aren't working anymore. Be sure to actually check up on that. And yes, you can turn on certain protocols in basic auth, but try to not have to rely on that and just use modern authentication. International Women's Day tomorrow / day after, depending on what time zone you're in. Just making reference to that, and also making reference to her tech path, which is an essay based community, I guess, for women in tech, or tech, cybersecurity, and STEM in general. So hit them up. I mean, if you are a woman in tech, or you've got family, relatives, etc., who are considering or not even considering, maybe point them in that direction and ask them, have you considered? And if not, why? So bit of that one, doing my part. Coming up later this month, we've got the ITSMF conference. Brett added that one in there. I'm not too clear on that one is, but it is more for the IT service provider side of things. As mentioned before, there's Microsoft Secure coming up end of the month. And then we've got the big Microsoft conferences of Build, Inspire, and Ignite coming throughout the year. And just a reminder that Microsoft Stream Classic retires next February. So your free video storage in Microsoft 365 is going away. Make sure you start looking into moving that out. So within the SharePoint Admin Center, there is a migration manager option of Stream Classic. So essentially where it's moving to is Microsoft Stream. So brackets on SharePoint or OneDrive. So like what you've got now in a Microsoft Teams meeting, if you've hit record, it's going to save the file in the OneDrive of whoever hit record. And if you did a Teams meeting recording in a Teams channel, it will live in that team site's document library folder. And moving forward, it's just going to store them there. The segue from that is you can then use Microsoft Lists to then create a playlist of videos in stream, or any audio file in particular. Yeah, so that's pretty much all I had on my random list of things, given that I didn't really prepare very much for this and was hoping for a bit more, just banter. Crowd was pretty quiet, so if you got any questions or raise anything about what I've just talked about, feel free.
Quick question on licensing for Teams Premium. Is it already included in the E3 file, or will that be a separate license?
No, so that is a separate license. So the premium part kind of implies that. So it is an add-on. So yeah.
Right.
You got anyone in the online space want to say anything? Comment? All right.
Do you feel like showing the sidebar?
Oh yes. Just bear with me while I.
It's an edgy demonstration.
Right. So if you look here. So when you sign into Edge with a work account, you're probably going to notice this extra, bit on the side here. So you have like a search, your Bing, your store, your M365, and Outlook, and you can add whatever really. And then you can just hide it if you need to at the bottom right there with the settings. So you can customize even more of the sidebar. Sticky notifications.
And when you click on a, and we won't show it here, but when you click on a link in an email, it actually opens up in a little side window on the side of Edge. That the email opens up in the browser, and what you're clicking on, the link, opens up on the left-hand side. So it's actually quite nice to be able to see that, and then you can easily click the little X where it says Customize Sidebar. That's the sort of size of the window where the email appears. You can click close that, and that will disappear. The email will go away, but it's a nice way to be able to check your email at the same time as you're checking the content that the email link goes to within the one window.
Yep. I just saw all the chat. Yes. Yeah, the virtual green room. That's pretty cool. I mean, you may have seen it before if you're hosting a live event. So before you go live or change the feeds, you'll have this kind of safe space to practice and make sure everything works. So that's always good. Yes, exam renewals are very easy. Open book and free. So why not do them?
All right, I'm going to stop the recording there now, guys. So if you want to talk off camera, then feel free to do that.
Yeah, no worries. But yes, thanks for coming and attending. We'll have the recording up, all the links, references and resources posted out to you. And yeah, we'll see you in about a month's time. So hopefully we'll have Kirsty McGrath over from Melbourne and bigger turnout.